Max Verstappen eased to victory at the Austrian Grand Prix to claim a 5th successive F1 win and tighten his grip on the 2023 championship. Having won Saturday's sprint contest, pole sitter Verstappen maintained his and Red Bull's dominant form to finish 5 seconds clear of Charles Leclerc despite losing time to the Ferrari when opting not to pit under an early VSC and opting to take an extra stop in the closing stages to put on fresh tyres to seal an extra point for fastest lap. Sergio Perez came out on top in a thrilling late battle with Ferrari's Carlos Sainz to cap a brilliant recovery from 15th on the grid, ensuring Red Bulls finished on the podium at the team's home race. The race was heavily impacted by drivers' struggles with track limits, and after several received in-race time penalties, 8 drivers would receive post-race penalty after stewards reviewed a number of infringements, which resulted in 83 lap times being deleted. Sainz and Lewis Hamilton were among the others impacted, with both receiving 10-second penalties post-race, demoting the Ferrari from 4th to 6th and Hamilton behind his teammate to 8. Lando Norris maintained his brilliant form at the Red Bull ring and ended up 4th after the Sainz's demotion helped to secure crucial points for his upgraded McLaren. Fernando Alonso reduced a solid display to take 5th for Aston Martin, while George Russell advanced from 11th to 8th and then leapfrogged Hamilton to 7th after the 7-time world champion was penalised. Aston Martin's Lance Stroll and Alpine and Pierre Gasly rounded out the points, and the latter dropping down to P10 for his own 10-second penalty. Gasly's teammate was the biggest culprit, Esteban Ocon getting a 30-second penalty. In a statement, the FIA also suggested that gravel trap added to the exits of 9 and 10 next year to the drivers from exceeding the limits. Verstappen, his 42 victory, moves him clear of Ayrton and 5th on the all-time winners list. Is now 81 points clear of second place Sergio Perez and very much on course for his 3rd successive title. Remel, meanwhile, have now won all 9 races and 2 sprints this season, and the prospect of the RB19 going unbeaten throughout the season is getting more realistic with every race. Verstappen came into this race having led every lap of the previous 3 Grand Prix and may well have extended that streak had it not been for the release of the VSC on lap 13. Verstappen fended off a bold attack from Leclerc on the opening lap before an early safety car was briefly sent out to clear debris from the track following a collision at the start. Verstappen executed a perfect rolling restart before the release of the VSC, which came after Haas's Nico Hülkenberg retired, triggering slots for most of the field. The Red Bulls, the only front runners, opting to stay out. The decision at first seemed questionable to the other cars that set game time and pitting under reduced speed, but it made little difference. In the main impact, ensuring Verstappen's streak of leading races ended at 2:49 as Leclerc moved into first when Red Bull brought him into the pits at the end of lap 25. Verstappen came out in third, just behind Sainz in third, but swiftly passed the Spaniard before setting about closing a 7-second gap to Leclerc, and any hope that Leclerc might not be able to put a fight was quickly dispelled, with Verstappen easing into DRS range before passing a Ferrari on lap 35. The 25-year-old then providing a startling example of the elite form he is by smartly holding back before completing the move on Leclerc to ensure the Ferrari didn't gain DRS on the following straight. From there, he began to pull away at a second lap, and the only remaining threat was some rain clouds that were hovering to the west of the circuit. And after a second round of pit stops, he continued to extend his lead, and with a fresh set of medium tyres, 2 laps remaining, allowed him to set the fastest lap. Most important for me was to stay in front. Verstappen said, after that we could do our own race. We opted not to box under the VSC and do our normal structure, and that worked out well. The sits were perfect and I enjoyed it a lot. Red Bull and Verstappen's decision to make the next stop deployed a huge level of confidence in the team, and the gyro ruthlessness he took an extra point away from Sergio Perez, and whom he shared an intense battle with in the sprint. The Mexican produced a fine recovery drive, having needlessly been eliminated from Q2 on Friday after excessive track limits on successive flying laps. He drove a patient race through the field and eventually came out on top in a brilliant lap battle with Sainz to secure his first podium in 4 races. Having 2 cars on the podium captained a near perfect weekend for Red Bull, who were racing at their home circuit for the first time since co-founder Dietrich Mateschitz died in October last year. After a disappointing start to the season, Ferrari's led a race that suggests they have at least temporarily taken a step ahead of Mercedes and Aston Martin in the battle behind Red Bull. Leclerc took second, but it was his teammate Sainz who appeared to have greater pace on Sunday. The Spaniard was on the back of Leclerc throughout the first stint and was expressing his frustration at being held up over the radio. His mood was improved when Ferrari brought both cars in under the safety car and slowest saw him come out behind both Hamilton and Norris. Sainz responded with the best possible manner as he quickly recovered the third, but by that point Leclerc had been able to open up a gap that had all but ended the contest between the Ferrari drivers. In battling his way back to third, he's incurred a 5-second penalty for exceeding track limits that would leave him exposed to the recovering Perez late on, and while his stern defence ensured the Red Bull wouldn't have the mildest hope of chasing down Leclerc for second. The gap was 4/10 because I was on Charles' gearbox for 6 or 7 seconds and 3 positions lost in that first pit stop. Sainz said, I feel like I played the team game staying behind and penalising that way, losing a lot of time and 3 positions with the VSC ending when there could have been something differently frustrated me. I lost a lot of time to recover, which which I got pretty quickly, and the time I got the track limits, and from my race then on, was quite compromised. While there were strategic imperfections that left sites frustrated, it was ultimately a much improved weekend for the Scarlet Red team, and they will hope to continue to build the momentum as they approach a year from their last race victory. And yeah, of course, they won at Silverstone last year, so that could give them some optimism. But yeah, while Perez had the highest profile violation with the track limits on Friday, on Sunday was the majority of the field struggling. It became apparent early in the race that the boundary, particularly in the final two corners, were going to have a major influence on the race. After Hamilton passed Norris off the line, the Mercedes was unable to pull away from the McLaren and came under heavy pressure. As Hamilton struggled with his brakes, Norris came on the radio to report the world champion exceeding track limits. The stewards agreed, and Hamilton swiftly earned himself 4 points and a 5-second penalty that he would serve at his second pit stop. However, by that point, he'd already been passed on track by Norris, who appeared to have a genuine speed advantage in his upgraded McLaren. Having served his penalty, an aggrieved Hamilton was regularly questioning over team radio whether other cars should be penalised for the same expense. These complaints, along with reminders of his dissatisfaction with W14, led to intervention from Toto Wolff, who said, "Lewis, we know the car is slow, please drive it." Mercedes are bringing further upgrades to the already highly modified car in Silverstone next week, and with improvements undoubtedly required to appease Hamilton, who of course is still yet to sign a contract extension beyond this season. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out. But before I go, let me run you through the classification from the race. This is the original one, so I'll try and adjust it. Verstappen, yeah, what can you say about him? Just dominant once again, brilliant performance, absolutely consistent machine at the moment, and it's hard to see anyone block him. But yeah, Leclerc in second, great drive from him, even if the sprint didn't quite work out. That's a big boost for him picking up these points, with Perez in third. Yeah, really should be second in that car, but still good recovery from 15th to third, you'd have to say. Sainz obviously dropping down to 6th, frustrating because he did have the pace, but just once again wasn't quite executed well. Norris 4th, yeah, unbelievable job from him. He's a master from that track, and that upgrade really does seem to make a difference. And then you've got Alonso in 5th, really solid drive from him. You'd have to say a quiet weekend for Aston Martin, but he still maximised points. But then you got Hamilton and Russell, obviously inverted. Yeah, Russell probably still picked up more points, but yeah, Mercedes' pace just not there this weekend. They really do need to pick it up at Silverstone. Gasly in 9th was pretty a strong performance from him, probably the best that car could do. Obviously beating Ocon, which has been a bit of a rarity recently. Stroll 10th, Aston really should be above Gasly, maybe the team Mercedes, but it's a point, I suppose. Then you got Albon in 11th, disappointing to miss out on points just by a time out, but still a really solid drive from him. Ocon 12th, like I said, we disappointed not to be out there with Gasly, but Sargent, credit to him, that's a really improved performance from him. And yeah, hopefully something we see more of. Joe 14th, Bottas 16th, just another poor race with Alfa Romeo, didn't have the pace. De Vries 15th, I wouldn't say with the collision with Bankton it's a great driver or anything like that, but still Tsunoda had an absolute stinker, as did Piastri really when you compare where Norris did, even without the upgrades. And then Haskell's just really struggling on race pace, aren't they? But anyway guys, that's it for me. Thanks so much for watching. To like, subscribe, that's what's going to have a daily F1 news. The sounds going to be greatly appreciated. Thanks so much for watching. Peace.